So I decided I'd do a few new demos for some of the different lessons. This time we're going to be looking at a hibiscus. I actually had another or have another demo for hibiscus, but I'm not particularly pleased with how I tackled that topic, I guess, almost a year and a half ago now. So I wanted to revisit it and maybe kind of take a more solid stance on certain constructional concepts that I was a little bit lax on before. So one thing to remember when it comes to any of these studies is that I'm not at all focusing on perfectly reproducing this this subject, or this photograph rather. What I want to do is I want to draw something that looks solid. So we're still focusing on learning how to use construction and how to kind of convey our forms in a way that looks solid and real. We want to give it the sense of weight where it needs it, and so on. Another thing that I want to do is I want to learn more about how this particular thing is put together, how the different forms come together, and how I can piece those together myself. Lastly, I want to reproduce, or at least capture, what I do see as being the core of this plant, but that's really the third highest priority here. My biggest focus is learning to apply construction, not reproducing a photograph 100% faithfully. Because frankly, I'm not even good at that, because that's not something that I've ever really focused on. Observation is very important, and being able to identify the different elements that we see here is certainly important, but I don't want to put that ahead of construction, because construction is the actual skill that I use every day when I'm drawing, putting forms together and piecing them together so that I can create things from my imagination. So if you asked me to kind of draw a perfect reproduction of a portrait photo of someone, I wouldn't be the person to go to. But if you wanted me to create an interesting interpretation of that photograph or use it as a reference to create a fresh new character, then I'd be your guy. And that's the kind of skills that we're trying to develop here, or that we're trying to practice here. So looking at this hibiscus, the first thing that I see is that it's got this big, nice kind of flowing stem or pistil, or I forget what the anatomy of a flower is, but it's very large and bold, and it comes out through here. So that's really going to establish a good deal of the flow in our image. Something like that. And it's coming out from this base where we've got our petals, or I guess they are technically petals in this case, they're not leaves. Now, these petals come out to a particular extent. They kind of arc and come back. So I do want to establish the kind of ellipse that we have fitting around here so that I have something to work with when I'm constructing these petals. So I've got my extent here. Now this is one of the things that I was a little bit too lax on the last time that I did this sort of demonstration, was that I was perfectly okay with kind of going beyond this ellipse and constructing my leaves separate, kind of ignoring it really. And that's not really what we should be doing when we're applying construction. Once we've established this, the bounds of our petals, we need to respect it. We cannot just undermine it and ignore it as though we had not drawn it if it doesn't suit us anymore. If we do that, then we start to lose the sense of solidity and kind of the integrity of our construction. So what we're going to do here is we are going to, even if it does not match our reference image, we are going to adhere to the scaffolding that we've set down. So I want my leaves to flow something like this, or petals, I guess. Keep in mind that just because we see this leaf kind of ending off here, it does continue on even though we don't see it. So we do frequently want to think about what we don't see and what is not necessarily obvious to us all the time. You do kind of have to think about more than just what is visible to you and really process the image and come to some, educated, I don't want to say guesses, but that is essentially what they are if we can't see the rest of it. Sometimes, like if you're looking at an animal and you can't quite see how, say, a leg connects to the torso from a particular angle, you can always go and find other pictures of that animal to get a better sense of it. In this case, this particular flower, we're not going to be able to find other angles of this individual. We can find other angles of this type of flower, but not other angles of this particular shot. So we do have to apply our minds a little bit, kind of guess a little. So now that we've got the flow of these petals, we want to enclose those shapes. So here it's a lot less pointy, like how my usual leaf exercises kind of come out like this. A lot of leaves are like that, but here in this case, this flower is much more rounded, but we still do have a sort of direction to them, which is how we got this flow. No, that's not right. And we're still drawing through all of our forms. We are not stopping our shapes until they are completed, even if they're hidden by some other form. In this particular case, this leaf does kind of stick out further from our initial ellipse, but I'm actually going to ignore that in favor of creating a more solid, believable construction. Because I've already pretty much kind of written certain parts in stone. I don't want to undermine that at risk of trying to be super accurate, and instead, it's like winning the battle but losing the war, really. So in essence, this is what we've got. We've got this big tube flowing out from the center and some petals coming out. And the petals are quite broad. They've got like sort of, they bow out like this. So that's essentially what we've captured. I want to make sure that I can get the ellipses in here for my stem, or whatever that thing is called. It's not a stem. Stem would be down here. I believe it's part of the reproductive organs of this plant. I'm gonna make sure I can rotate this so that I can get a better angle for my drawing here. My setup is actually not the best for this particular location, but let's try it out anyway. Ah, that was terrible. I always want to make sure I'm flowing as much as I can from the previous line so that it doesn't end up looking like chicken scratch. And of course we've got all these little arms coming out. There's so many of them. There are two ways that you can kind of approach this particular problem, where you can focus on the arms themselves and then add the little the balls to the end of them, or you can add the balls and then add the connect them back using these little arms, or you can do a little mixture of both, really. Obviously here I'm not aiming to be super accurate, but I am keeping track of how the density changes, how it's quite sparse down here and then gradually becomes more dense. You can even lay in a sort of ellipse or a sort of ball to capture the general shape there that's being constructed by your by these tiny forms. Probably would have been better to do that earlier on, but you know, you live and you learn. If you, when you're doing this though, you definitely want to avoid having any floaters, like things that are not connected to the main form by the little branches. So now let's go back to looking at this these leaves. I can see that there is some kind of these notches. So I do want to try and replicate that. But so I'm going to focus first on kind of fleshing out the contour of this petal, because it'll help me place those I don't know what to call them, slits, notches, divots, I don't know. But anyways, the point is that once you've got these contour lines in here, you can actually use them so that when you cut that little notch, you can follow along that flow of the surface without having to worry about where it's going to go, because you've already drawn in that line and therefore you can follow it. That's the essence of construction. You've solved a problem already and therefore don't have to worry about it anymore. I don't know why I have this habit of drawing arrows. It's kind of ruining my drawing, but I don't know. It's just when I'm doing these demos, I always, in my mind, think about, okay, this is flowing this way along the surface, so I want to really communicate that to my students. So also here, you can see there's a little bit of wavering to that leaf. It's not quite a smooth cut. There's a little bit of deviation there to it. So I want to build that on top of the leaf construction that we already had and just add a little bit more variation there. And there's also this here. I'm probably not going to be rendering out this entire thing in this demo. I'm mainly focusing on covering concepts and how to apply some of the techniques. So otherwise it would be kind of an extraneous waste of time. But the last thing I want to talk about is the use of line weight. I'm going to be adding a little bit just to kind of clarify what is in front of what, make the overlaps a little bit easier to understand. So you can see here how I'm just taking the existing lines and applying additional thickness to them. I'm not replacing them. I'm not like taking a line and then doing something entirely different with it. I'm just adding weight to what already exists. I'm not cleaning anything up. I'm just organizing it. You can also kind of extend off of them and build little shadow shapes, which you fill in with solid black. Don't like try and do this sort of deal where you end up with little slivers of white, unless you actually mean to kind of go towards a less dense gradient. But in this case, with the shadow shapes, if you're trying to fill in a shape, is basically what I'm saying, you should fill it in completely. Don't leave little slivers of white, unless that is exactly what you intended to do. So these little shadow shapes, these cast shadows, can help distinguish this front petal from the one behind it. And I can also use these shapes, even though there's no logical reason for there to be a shadow cast in the way that I'm kind of adding this weight. My main focus here is communicating that this big tube sits in front and it's quite dominant. So I really want to draw attention to it and make it stand out. And I can do that by just emphasizing its lines over its neighbors. So in essence, that's basically all we're really doing. We're just constructing simple forms and merging them together and then finding how those surfaces flow through space, and then where appropriate we cut a little here and there following those contours, or we add a few extra forms. With smaller forms you can be a little bit more relaxed, but I still, in terms of like actually drawing each form comprehensively, but I still want you to be aware of how they all sit in space and how they all connect to each other, because if you're not, it will show through in your drawing. So yeah, that's the gist of it. I'm not going to be rendering this out completely. It's just for the sake of showing you how to apply these concepts. And I'll try and do a couple more of these maybe, just to round things out.